Hi, everyone. Bill Ikest here. I'm joined today by my friend and neighbor, Don Keller. Don is an entrepreneur and has been a successful business person for over 35 years now. He recently decided he wanted to offer his services as a life or career coach, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today for executives and business professionals. And today we're just going to touch on that and the value and the benefits of having a life and career coach. So, Don, welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. It's good to be here.
Yeah,
Pretty
give people a
excited.
little bit about your background.
Sure. Just to start off, I'll tell you this is sort of my first podcast as a new second act career.
Good
So
deal.
I'm pretty excited. Again, my name is Don Keller. Yes, I was the owner and CEO of Blue Sky Exhibits. I've owned several businesses. I still own several businesses, but I recently sold my ownership of Blue Sky of 12 years. And I'm sort of headed into a new direction. I have two kids. I've been married for 35 years. Loved passionately what I do. I love being an entrepreneur. I love starting new things. And I'm pretty excited about this new season of really a lot of new things for me, which is unusual all at the same time.
That's great. And knowing you as long as I have, I know that you appreciate the value of connections and relationships. You've gotten plugged into Cobb County quite a bit. You're serving on a lot of boards and continuing to network. I think a year or two older than you, but a lot of people would say we're kind of getting to that fourth quarter of our careers. But
now, maybe
yeah,
third quarter,
yeah.
like that.
Right. You have a lot to offer. I feel like I have a lot to offer, and I think that's what it's all about. We're not excited about sitting on the couch and just watching the world go by or watching other people's lives on social media. We want to contribute and feel like we're engaged and making a difference. So
Right. You're exactly right. And it's unique to be in this situation.
yeah.
I think it was intentional, probably for you as well. And there's a lot of new opportunities in being in this situation. So I'm excited about it.
For sure. That's awesome. Looking back on your career, talk about some of the mentors as you were growing up and as you got started in the real world after school.
Well, wow, there's a lot of them. But I think, honestly, I really think it were my parents. They were probably my biggest mentor. I don't know if you know this, Bill, but my mom was married 6 times. Did you know that?
No.
So I have 6 different fathers, and she had great taste. So I don't want you to feel sorry for me. We moved a lot, but I had a lot of influential men in my life. And in particular, my second father was very influential. He was a business owner. He was, he was very disciplined. But I learned a lot about business, and I learned a lot of things I didn't want to do as well. And
Yeah.
so he was a big influencer. And of course, my mom was a big one too. She just provided me with great work ethic and stability and love. And it really encouraged me to take a lot of risks at a young age.
Yeah. Let's look at as you got out of school, before you got into the business with Blue Sky and whatnot. Did you have some bad bosses along the way? Did you have some really good bosses along the way? I could probably say the same, that there are some things that I learned from previous positions that, of how not to do something and what I believe to be the right way to do something. So did you feel like you had a lot of influences there?
Yes, I did. I worked for a small company right out of college that was owned by a husband and wife, and I learned a ton from them. They were good leaders. They were different than me. Just like my father was he was more of a dictator. He really was, but he got a lot done, and it was effective.
Yeah.
The small business owner that I worked for, they were not dictators. They were much more facilitators in their leadership, and they were equally as successful. So I was able to really meld a lot of the people I've seen in my life to sort of create my leadership style, which, you may ask me, what is your style?
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't
What is your
really
style? What
know.
are some of the principles that you try to follow in business?
Well, my style is probably more facilitator. It probably is. I like getting people motivated to work. And so as a CEO, Blue Sky, I owned it for 20 years. I own another company called Viral Protective Services right now, and I own a movie set company called Basecamp. And then I own a Las Vegas company, Sky Expo. And so, but I sold Blue Sky. But in that, my leadership style was to get people to really enjoy their job and be motivated to do a better job and to learn along the way.
Yeah.
So there were a couple governing principles. Again, like I said, my mom gave me good work ethic. So I tried to provide an environment where they would see me have good work ethic. You know, I would be a person of my word. I tend to talk a lot, so you can cut me off anytime.
Okay.
But I also want to be a person of my word. So
Yeah.
if I say something, I mean it and I practice it.
Yeah. Wouldn't you agree that it's important to have a good culture though too, right? So not only Don Keller, the owner, is supporting people and encouraging people, but that you have a team around you that's lifting people up and acknowledging people for the good work that they're doing, and also having their back during some of the downtimes, the pandemic or whatever it might be.
You bring up some of the downtimes, but absolutely, leadership is key. And I used to use the term bleed blue with my leaders. I really love it if they really would bleed blue for Blue Sky. And how do we do that? Well, one that comes to mind real quick is maybe sympathy and empathy, Bill. I'm a very sympathetic person, but I learned through the course of really business that empathy's better. And I think you really get people on the same page with you with empathy, as opposed to always trying to find something that they can gain from it with sympathy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think empathy is a lot about just being a good listener and really
Yes.
really hearing what people have to say. So
Yeah. I mean, that's transferring power to your leadership. That's
yeah,
empathetic.
absolutely.
When they're having challenges, it's standing beside them and really working to a solution with them. It creates camaraderie, and really it eliminates the hierarchy of leadership. I would also say that's a key for me. I want people to know that I'm in it with them. I'm not really managing them or like my dad dictating to them.
Right.
But I was there and part of it, part of the solution.
Yeah, yeah. I just posted something on LinkedIn this week. You might have seen it, just a little clip from Simon Sinek talking about a gentleman. I think it was in Las Vegas that he ran into a gentleman at a coffee house who he just seemed very upbeat and talkative. And he said, "Hey, do you like your job?" And the kid was quick to respond, "I love my job." And
Ah,
he said one of the reasons he loved his job was, obviously more emotionally connected to the job than just liking it. And he said the boss, the management from the organization would always come by and check on him. It wasn't even his direct boss; it was just somebody in the organization. Interestingly enough, he had another job that he worked at night that was in a hotel environment, and he said he just really didn't enjoy that job at all. And it was because people were always making sure he knew when he was doing something wrong, but they weren't necessarily taking the time to let him know when he was doing something right. And so here you have the same person in two different cultures. One culture, they absolutely love their job. The other culture, they could kind of take it or leave it. So, I've always been a big believer in that as well. So,
I mean, that's a goal. That was a goal of mine to have a staff member say they love their job. I
yeah,
mean, um,
yeah,
and honestly, Bill, that's what I gravitated more to as a CEO.
yeah,
Was what I could do to impact people.
sure,
I know you're probably familiar with this, but hiring and firing people is one of the most difficult things in business.
absolutely.
And truthfully, everyone that I've probably let go or fired, probably it might have been a little bit of my fault because I wasn't putting them in the right position to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think another key role in leadership, or what I look for, is some of the soft skills of staff. There's a great book that I read called The Ideal Team Leader. Can't remember the author's name, but he highlights 3 soft skills in the book. I recommend the book. He highlights humility, he highlights being hungry, and he highlights being smart, like emotional intelligence. None of those have to do with experience. None of them have to do with schooling, industry knowledge, any of that. But the whole book talks about how he evaluated his staff and all the characteristics of good staffing and what he felt like was the ideal team player. And
Right.
after reading this book, I totally agreed with him.
Mm-hmm.
I made my staff, my leadership staff read it, but I think it really translates into maybe what is I'm passionate about. You know, I'm passionate about those 3 soft skills, you know, humility, being eager and hungry to be a part of the team, and then being emotionally smart. You know, if someone's hurting, if someone's challenged, if someone is disgruntled or unhappy, knowing that and knowing how to handle it. That's what I want my leaders to do.
And I think a lot of that is management by moving around, you know, and not just getting stuck in your office all the time, waiting for problems to come to you. So you and I are both later in our careers, but we, as I said before, we still have a lot to offer. What made you decide to officially become a life coach or career coach?
Yeah, like I said, I think I really enjoyed helping people. Okay. And that was sort of an ancillary part of my job as a CEO. And you know, I employed a chaplain, a corporate chaplain at my company, and he would just walk around one day a week and make sure everybody was happy. And I can't tell you how many of the staff said, you know, that is such a good benefit you provide. Wow. Because, you know, when someone had their parent die, or, you know, they're moving, or they had a problem with a child, the chaplain can help. I have been in some coaching scenarios, like I led a CEO roundtable with the Cobb Chamber of Commerce for about 15 years. I still lead it. And although I would say I'm a facilitator, I think I'm really a coach with a lot of those leaders. And I've been told that I was doing well. I've been told that over the years. And so as I began to look at my professional life, I came across coaching and how it's a legitimate career. And so that's sort of what sparked my interest.
Right.
I did a little research. I've met with coaches. I have a really good friend that's a executive life coach, and he works with corporations. And I met with him, and really, I pulled the trigger. You know.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Why might someone? What would your thoughts be on why someone might consider having a life coach? And are there differences between a life coach and a career coach?
Well, I think a life coach provides another tool for your success. You know, I've mentioned this to you before, but what I've found is that our age group, let's bring that up again, we don't embrace coaching as much as the younger generation. And honestly, a life coach can really give you some iron sharpening iron feedback in business, especially an experienced executive coach. They can refine some of your rough edges, and they can also give you an opportunity or place that's safe. A lot of times you don't have to talk about some challenges. So I think that coaching is a really good alternative or solution for a lot of people that are floundering or have challenges that they can't meet on their own.
Well, and some people, you and I have talked about this too. Some people might look at it as a weakness if they are seeking out a coach, you know. But you think of most anything else, and I mean, I'll keep it kind of simple. But if I wanted to become a better golfer, which I expect at some point in my life I'm going to commit to doing, I'm going to probably want to get the assistance of a coach, somebody that can really help me with my game and improve my game, and or, you know, but anything else, you know, that I am interested in getting better at, I'm going to probably try to tap into. I've done it during my career, you know, tried to tap into people who've been there to say, hey, help me understand what you've done to be successful, because I'm sort of following a similar path. You know, any tips? There's, I'm a self-help guy, right? I love to tap into some of the resources that are available out there on how to do this and how to do that, how to be better at this, how to be better at that, and some little life hacks, maybe, if you will. And I just think can really be a valuable resource. A couple of things that you mentioned in your website that I really appreciated was it brings clarity, perhaps fulfillment, accountability, and joy, among other things. A coach, a career coach, or a life coach can help you find those things. They can hold you accountable. But talk a little bit about the process of seeking out a coach. So, someone might decide just overnight, okay, I'm going to do this. But you and I talked about the what, the why, and the how, I think. So maybe elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, we did talk a little bit about that too. That was in a practical way. But, well, can I back up just a minute? Is that
Yeah.
okay? So, you had sort of alluded to hiring a trainer to help you golf better. And what this translates into answering your question a little. What you are looking for in a coach is really someone that's accredited, someone that's been professionally trained. I don't think coaching is something you just step into with all your experience in the business world. I don't, because a lot of people have challenges that are life-changing. And so I think you need to take that seriously as a coach. And so the real difference is, a coach can be a trainer, it can be a consultant, but it's different. A coach is more of like a cheerleader, more of like someone that digs deeper to uncover solutions that you yourself already have. You uncover them, and
Right.
they also hold you accountable to success. So implementation. Yeah. That's a coach. A therapist is someone that really goes a lot deeper with mental challenges, and a trainer is really a physical challenge. And so I found, trust me, a lot of people mesh all of those together and they come to me because I'm new to this. Right. And I really like to create that delineation because I'm not, a professional physical trainer, but I can train people in business, and that's consulting. And that's what I'm doing. I'm doing more coaching and consulting. Okay. So sort of to answer your question, I think a coach needs to be certified. I'm not certified yet, but I will be this month. Yes, I'm working on it through the ICF. It's the International Coaching Federation. It's a world organization, international organization.
Not to be confused with the UCF.
Huh?
Not to be confused with the UCF. We're not going to put you in an octagon.
Yes. Well, if you saw my physique, you probably would not confuse me. Okay. But right. I think it's important for someone to have some benchmarks of what a coach should be. And then, I also think the whole way people approach coaching, it's more about the person that's being coached. So finding out what they need, uncovering those needs, and really facilitating to those needs in a way that's effective and successful for the coachee.
Yeah, that's great. What you say about the certification, I think, is important because I would say, just my nature and my personality, I've been in my industry now for almost 35 years as well. And, some people would look at me as the old guard of the industry in some respects. And one of the things I've taken great pride in is mentoring some of the younger people along the way. But that's just been an informal interaction, checking in on them, and say that maybe them saying to me, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm trying to connect with these people. What do you suggest that I do different from what I've been doing? And so I've informally tried to do that quite a bit. And I know in our industry, in healthcare, on the financial side of the healthcare industry, we're encouraging that all the time, because as it relates to people coming up in the industry, I've come across a lot of people who are in leadership positions today who would admit to you that earlier in their career, they didn't feel like they had the skills, they didn't feel like they had the confidence, they didn't feel like they had the ability or the knowledge of how to take that next step to advance their career. And they sort of got stuck in this cycle. It's like, you know what? I've been doing the same thing now for 20 years and it's really kind of getting boring. I'd like to do more, but I don't know how to go about it. So I think that's where a career coach and executive coach can really be beneficial.
Well, Bill, you bring up a really interesting point. I think you took the initiative to be a mentor. So congratulations on that. The younger generation is not.
Mm-mm.
They're very focused on, a side hustle. They're focused on really moving jobs, building a career. And so that's probably why the professional coach role right now is so popular, because I think what you were doing is a lot of what I'm doing. Mentoring is very similar to that, but being a professional coach takes it up several notches, in that when someone's paying for your advice or your encouragement or your accountability, they take it seriously. I call it skin in the game. They're like, so if we agree that you're going to do this by Friday and you don't do it, so your coach is going to hold you accountable for that.
Yeah.
Whereas a mentor sometimes is more encouraging, and not as sort of abrasive, maybe. I hate to use that word, but
no, I know.
They keep them accountable. But I think you bring up a point of why maybe coaching is so popular right now. When I started out, Bill, I thought that my demographic was going to be like 30 to 60-year-old, like business owners. That's what I thought.
Right.
And I have clients that are in that demographic, but the 22-year-old to 40-year-old is really, they're very responsive to coaching. Wow. And I'm a religious person, and God's word talks a lot about wisdom and seeking wisdom, and coaching is really seeking wisdom in a lot of ways. Someone that's experienced, that understands clinical techniques that work and that can implement those in their life to success is wise.
Yeah.
And I didn't really touch on some of the words you said on my website, because a lot of people ask me this too, because my website does not use words like you used in business, like success, achievement, prosperity, larger income. So I think the words that I used on my website are words that I gravitate to, that bring happiness.
Yep.
And so a life coach, as opposed to a career coach, no, don't get me wrong, I'm helping some people with their career. Heck, I'm helping myself with my career, because this is a change for me.
Yeah.
But the holistic part of life coaching really brings joy and fulfillment. Those words that are on my website, that I think they resonate very important to me and someone's life in general.
That's
great.
Does
that make sense?
Absolutely. Talk about what somebody, if they're contemplating tapping into and working with an executive coach, a career coach, a life coach, what are some things that they specifically should look for, and what they should also expect? I mean, do they need to know you already? If it's somebody that is it important that they already have a relationship with their coach so that they kind of know some of their history, or what would you suggest there? Do you meet with people on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis? Do you set a schedule based on their needs, and it, touch a little bit, give people an expectation of just a I don't know, a range, whatever's appropriate on what something like that might cost that might be a something that's keeping someone from wanting to do it too. Talk about that a little bit.
That's a great question. It really is. So first, like I mentioned, I think you should look for a certified coach, someone that's actually been professionally trained. Typically for me, and I think in the industry, people really take coaching in 45-minute sections. So I think it's once a week is a good idea. And for me, I usually hire people, or they hire me, and we work with them for about a month at a time. So it's 4 sessions at a time.
Okay.
you know, and I think what they should expect is a safe space. Everything is confidential.
Sure.
They should understand really what coaching is, sort of like what I touched on, what the difference between therapy is and coaching. Because believe it or not, some people do come to a coach and they really do need a professional therapist or a counselor or even psychiatrist. And
Right.
that's not what I do. Um, they should come with expectations of success. If you're paying someone to help you, I think the groundwork and accountability and plan should be expected. Um, the cost, I mean, it's not super expensive. I guess it depends on who you're coaching with,
Sure.
but it's generally charged by the hour or by the month or by
Yeah.
the quarter.
Unless you're
Um,
doing a consulting engagement. You mentioned that you do some consulting. That might be set up a little different.
it is. Consulting is at a different rate,
Hmm.
both of which are billed hourly. Um, there's a contract before we ever start. There's actually an assessment. So what's another thing you should expect is, at least with me, I like to sit down with a person and sort of do a comprehensive life assessment of where they are. And it's a practical, literal experience. Okay. You'll walk away at least knowing a rating or number assessment of each area of your life.
Yeah.
And in relationship to challenges and goals that you'd like for your life.
Right.
You know, and that's complimentary. I think sometimes you don't fit with a person. So I think you should expect to be able to sit down with a coach and talk with them and see if it is a good fit.
Right.
Uh, and then, you know, I think really the expectation is success. You know, I'm not doing this to just sit down and chat with people, you know. Like I said, one of my goals was to really impact people with joy and fulfillment. And
Yeah. That's
you know, I
great.
don't think that that comes with one goal. You know, I want to feel more fulfilled, Don. What can you do for me that I feel fulfilled? Okay, that's a broad goal.
Right. Right.
Um,
You
it
got to peel
comes,
back some layers, I imagine, to really help get to the source of that and what's going to make that person happy.
you do, and it
Yeah.
can be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So there's a huge trust element. I think
Yeah.
you have to be able to trust each other.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a process, and I think it does take time to get there. And
Yeah.
so the expectation should be that you have success. And if
Yeah.
you're not with that coach, you need to look at a different coach.
Well, and I want to emphasize too, from the conversations you and I have had, it could be a little bit more of a business transaction too. You use the example of someone that wants to, take their business to the next level, right? They're a $10 million company and they want to be a $50 million company
They
or
want to be
whatever.
$1 billion company.
Yeah.
Yes. I have
Well,
a
right. What's
client
it
that
going to
wants,
take? What's it going to take to get there? And I think that's important.
so now that you bring that up, so yeah, I have a client that wants to take their company to be $1 billion company, and they have a time frame. And so that requires two things. It does require some coaching, but it also requires consulting, specific consulting, which is a completely different thing. And it involves people in their business. It involves a lot of different elements, but that's something I get excited about. And I feel very confident I can bring to the table and help business owners, entrepreneurs, and really just people in life hit those benchmarks and success.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Hey, as we wrap this up, I really appreciate the time, but this has been a great conversation, and I just really want to encourage anyone that might be listening to us to remember that they don't have to feel like they're on an island by themselves, right?
Right.
There are a lot of resources out there, just like for anything else that you would seek help for, whether it was your health, your mental health, or your marriage, or whatever. There are resources out there and can really help you to, as you said, bring clarity and help you bring the joy back into either your job or the life's too short to be doing stuff that we don't like to be doing. And
You're right.
so I really appreciate your thoughts. Any closing comments here before we sign off?
Well, you know what, Bill, I appreciate you taking some time and highlighting this this industry, I guess. Had you ever thought of having a coach in your career?
Yeah, there have been times when I have, more of from a business development perspective, hey, help me get the deal, help me get this meeting, those kinds of things. But it's been, I would say honestly, it's more, I've seen people in the industry that I've really admired and consider to be mentors and have, really leaned on and asked a lot of questions of over the years, but never felt like I formally had to go out. It's now that I'm getting later in my career that I think about, okay, what am I going to do down the road? What is retirement going to look like? Or, what are some additional things that I've always had interest in that I'd like to expand on and explore further, and so those
Well,
are certainly some of the things.
no, I mean, that's good to hear. I mean, those are all very wise things. And the reason I ask you is because I do think, I do appreciate you highlighting this profession, because
Yeah.
it was something that I was not really aware of, nor was I comfortable enough to hire.
Yeah.
But I'm here to say, you highlighting it and me understanding it much deeper, there's a huge benefit. It's a tool in someone's toolbox or arsenal of success in their life. And so I just appreciate you giving me the opportunity too, as a new coach, I'm very new, the opportunity to just talk with you about it and really uncover maybe some things for myself as well. Could I plug my my website?
Absolutely.
It's donkellercoach.com, and it is live. And like I said, I will be a certified professional coach at the end of December of this year.
I encourage you to use LinkedIn and Instagram or whatever, and just put some little tidbits out there from time to time, if nothing else, just to help people and give people things to think about. I try to share content quite often because I think it can really be valuable.
It is.
So
it is. What
I
you're doing
encourage
is
you to do
extremely
that.
valuable. What you're doing is extremely valuable. Thank you, buddy. I
Hey,
appreciate it.
you'll be the next Simon Sinek out there.
Yeah.
You'll have such a following. Let's have breakfast at Reveille when you hit 1 million followers.
Oh, I don't know. My goal was not that, but
I
yeah,
know.
let's go. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, I enjoyed it a lot. I appreciate the conversation, and I look forward to hearing more about how you're doing, and maybe even tapping into you for some thoughts on some things that I've been thinking about. So thanks so much for that.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for this time. Have a great holiday. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks.
Happy holidays, everybody.